Live tonight for Titans Talk on News Channel 5 Plus. Phone lines are open at 615-737-7767. That's 737-7767. Talking all things Tennessee Titans football. And in studio with us tonight on News Channel 5 Plus, Rhett Bryan of the Titans Radio Network, game day host and executive producer each and every week. Rhett, appreciate you coming back in.
Love it. Glad to be here.
Titans fall in Jacksonville, a back and forth game. They opened the door just long enough at the end for Jacksonville to sneak in and get the victory.
19-13 your final score, and had a chance to win it on the final play, but the defensive lineman Andre Branch had other plans and sacks him on the final play, and there we are.
All the momentum with Tennessee for the majority of that game.
Without a doubt.
3.5 minutes to go is when they scored the go-ahead touchdown. They had the punt return, Brett Kern, who normally is as money as they come.
Rashad Green, 64 yards.
A line drive punt to Rashad Green. There was a breakdown in coverage there. Yeah. And then Philip Supernaw on the ensuing drive fumbles, and that all but sealed it at that point.
It's just one of those crazy games where, you know, the Titans did not take advantage of forced turnovers and opportunities, had turnovers of their own that went against them, and between that and a couple of penalties, you know, it's just one of those things how it just didn't work out.
You know, I said last night on Channel 5, I said that is a microcosm of their season right there, where they have a breakdown, not necessarily in the same position group or the same side of the football. It's just something different week in, week out, where the offense isn't scored enough points, the defense is doing its job, and special teams just not enough there to back up anything, and ultimately that's what beat them in Jacksonville.
One step forward, two steps back.
Yeah, and that's it.
Yeah, absolutely.
From Malarkey's presser, we just heard part of it. What were your biggest takeaways from today's coverage? You were out there today.
Well, he let them off for the weekend after playing 2 games in 4 days. So they were off on Friday and Saturday and Sunday. Came back today and worked them for a while. Worked on third down, which they were 5 of 13 last Thursday night in Jacksonville. They worked on blitz. They worked on red zone. Didn't have any red zone opportunities. That's part of the things they missed last Thursday, because Suckup had field goals from 47, 49. He missed a 53-yarder, and Mariota's touchdown run was from 23 yards out. But he liked how they kind of seemed like they had recharged the batteries. They were flying around today. There was lots of cheering and clapping and some popping there. And I guess the uncertain stuff is the offensive line, which he seems to have tweaked again. Now, we'll see if they trot out that same formation Wednesday in practice, because Quentin Spain, an undrafted rookie free agent from West Virginia, had some time at left guard. Jeremiah Potasi had some time at left guard. And Joe Looney, who they picked up off the waiver wire a few weeks ago, had some time at center, which is his natural position that he played in San Francisco. I think it's very interesting that he's just looking for the best combinations for Marcus's protection against the front 7 of Oakland, the Raiders that are coming into town this week. And he said, Andy Gallick, he said, look, he hadn't lost his job. He said he would tell you that he didn't play his best game last Thursday night. Got blown up on a couple of plays, and he said, I'm just looking to find the best combination. Now, what he does Wednesday and Thursday and Friday in practice, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
And this could very well be the lineup that we see on Sunday against Oakland. It could also be a Monday coming back from a long weekend where they have an opportunity to just work and rotate a guy in with the first-team offense just to give him a look, which, I mean, Quentin Spain, he's played sparingly this year, maybe active for 1 game.
He was in the Buffalo game here in Nashville back in October. I think he had 4 snaps that day. And yeah, I think maybe it's just one of those things where they wanted to see some film and see how that looks, because they
just see how he reacts
film
to
every practice. And yeah, exactly. And Quentin Spain, he's a large human being. That's a guy, he's 6'4", 332. Played in 50 games at West Virginia, started 38 of those, played some left tackle, played some guard, and they really liked him coming out and picked him up as an undrafted rookie free agent. And so, you know, who knows, maybe he's got a little chance there. So,
well, it also speaks, I think, to if they stick with him on the offensive line, hey, the priority here is protecting number 8, Marcus Mariota, in the run game and in pass protection. And that would speak to what's going on at left guard and center right now, because they're already making another change 3 weeks into him shaking up the offensive line.
Absolutely. I think he may be directly referencing those hits that Andre Branch had on Marcus Mariota in that last drive, because that first couple is there. I can't remember if it was their first snap on that drive or the second one, but Marcus took a vicious shot from Andre Branch and then ended up sacking him on the final play of the game. And so there's protection issues there, and he may be looking to tweak the line again. We'll see what happens.
They've used some tight end sets to help with the pass protection. Yes. They've used Dexter McCluster. I've noticed several times where he stepped up in the hole and made a key block. They're going to be without Dexter McCluster for a couple of weeks now. This means Bishop Sankey likely has his number called again after being inactive for the first time as a healthy scratch. He gets another opportunity to prove himself.
He does, and it's a guy that quietly has, I guess, been in the coach's doghouse a little bit, especially with his position coach and Sylvester Kroom, and so he gets a little bit of a reprieve and see what he can do in the lineup. And the interesting thing to me going into this game is what it does in the return game, because McCluster's been the guy there, and Coach Malarkey today said he wouldn't commit to giving rookie wide receiver Trey McBride that job on kickoff returns, but he said that
may be because, correct me if I'm wrong here, they just may not have a roster spot for him of the 45 you have to keep active. Because if Kendall Wright is back healthy, then who do you keep inactive among your wide receivers? Because right now they've got, 6 receivers on the roster. And you wouldn't certainly, they kept 4 active in Jacksonville.
Right.
One of those inactives was Kendall Wright. If he's back, then is it Trey McBride that's inactive or possibly released to make a roster move?
And that's where he talked about on punt returns today that Parrish Cox, the cornerback, is an option there, who had done some of that in his time in San Francisco.
Yeah, which is funny because whenever he was signed, I remember Mike Keith asking Parrish Cox in an interview he did at TitansOnline.com about that, would you like the lobby for some special teams opportunities? He goes, I'm all for it if they'll let me do it. Now, starting at corner is the priority for Parrish Cox now within this Titans defense.
Sure.
But it would make sense if you feel like he can give you a boost there.
Sure, and you also have Harry Douglas as an option, because he returned a couple late last week in that Jacksonville game in the closing moments. So that's one of those things that's going to be interesting, is what happens with the return game in that phase that obviously has had some issues as of late. Malarkey talked about, someone asked him about return coverage and what he wants his returners to do and how he wants them to be patient and really work with that fine line between dropping and taking a knee for a touchback and learning where that place is where they bring it out for a return.
Rhett Bryan of Titans Radio in studio with us. Phone lines are open. Phone line at the bottom of your screen, 615-737-7767. We are live tonight on News Channel 5 Plus. Oakland comes to town this Sunday. You can watch the game right here on News Channel 5 starting at noon. You can hear the game each and every Sunday. Local coverage starts at 10 a.m. on 104.5 The Zone. Titans radio coverage across the Mid-South at 11 a.m. Central Time. Of course, kickoff at 12:02 on Sunday from Nissan Stadium. Titans return home for back-to-back home games. They've got Oakland and then another game against Jacksonville, a quick turnaround against the Jags. Sitting at 2-8. All of the teams within the division won this week, so that puts them another game within that chase for the division. Not mathematically eliminated here, but certainly building for the future at the same time. They get a balancing act here, because they're not saying they're throwing in the towel, but they also need to see what they have. I think we talked about Quentin Spain getting a look. He's a young player that deserves an opportunity, and this is the time to do that. Yeah,
I think you are going to get to some point where there will be film evaluation of, and it constantly is, but I mean, film evaluation of what guys look like on film from here on out. But you're right, the division looks completely different than it did this time a week ago. The Titans lose in Jacksonville. Indianapolis squeaks one out against the Falcons, 24-21. They're now 3-0 without Andrew Luck,
somehow,
which is unbelievable.
They pulled those, and Atlanta handed that game to them. Well, Matt Ryan essentially threw the game to them early in that game.
And that's a team that started 5-0. The Falcons started 5-0. And the Texans did a pretty good job at getting after Ryan Fitzpatrick and the Jets in Houston and won that one 24-17. So, yeah, they're in the back seat now, and that's why it was so important for them to beat Jacksonville last Thursday night.
Is Kendall Wright going to return this week?
According to Coach Malarkey, he did some running today. Probably have another couple of days of rest, but he likes his chances and pretty much says he expects him to be back. In fact, someone asked him about Kendall in terms of what's been missing since he's been out. What does he bring to the table? And he said he's shown that he has the ability to score when he has the ball in his hands. And that's something our colleague Frank Wycheck always talks about, the explosiveness. He's one of the most explosive players on offense on that team. And that's something they've been missing. And certainly the chemistry that he and Marcus Mariota have, I think that's something else that's kind of been missing in this little bit of a drought with the offense. Because all of a sudden he's playing with Dorial Green-Beckham and, guys that he hadn't been playing with every day like he did with.
That's right.
I mean, they worked out together individually before training camp ever started. They had kind of a thing going on, and it was evident. So, but I would expect Kendall Wright to be back this weekend.
We welcome your phone calls, 615-737-7767, live tonight on News Channel 5+. This is Titans Talk with Rhett Bryant. I'm Jonathan Hutton. Join us. Coming up next.